Hello Dub Nation, coming off the weekend, here's what we have for today. A new update on the big trade involving Lauri Markkanen, plus news on potential contract extensions for Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. Regarding Lauri Markkanen, here's what Shams Charania had to say over the weekend. The Golden State Warriors have been the team most involved in negotiations for Markkanen in recent weeks, according to league sources to The Athletic. They discussed a proposal involving Moses Moody, multiple first-round picks, multiple pick swaps, and multiple second-round picks. However, the Utah Jazz asked for most of the Warriors' young talent and capital, including Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, and Brandon Podziemski, as well as picks, which has so far been a stumbling block for Golden State. We understand that the Jazz value Lauri Markkanen highly, but asking for all of this is an exaggeration. It appears that the Jazz's Danny Ainge is out of touch in making these demands. He could very well ask for the keys to the Warriors' training facility and the team's entire roster. Asking for Steph Curry to complete the trade is almost a joke. While Markkanen is an all-star and the most improved player with scoring abilities at 3 different levels, one must consider how the Jazz will fare this season and whether Markkanen truly wants to stay in Utah. In this video, we brought 2 experts detailing the values, so watch until the end and understand. Any negotiation, whether in sports or in the corporate world, begins with high requests and, over time, expectations are adjusted. Utah is asking too much and needs to ease its demands. For the Warriors, the initial offer is not the best they can make, and they are probably willing to improve the offer. Many wonder why Jonathan Kuminga is always included in trade discussions. He's the best player the Warriors can realistically trade, and if Golden State really wants Markkanen, the Jazz will want a player they can build around, and that player could be Kuminga. Currently, the Warriors' offer to Utah for Lauri Markkanen includes Moses Moody, 2 unprotected first-round picks, multiple first-round pick swaps, and multiple second-round picks. It's not much in terms of player capital, but if Utah is focused on rebuilding, these draft picks are valuable. The problem is that Utah wants young, rising talent, something Golden State is reluctant to trade. An important date to remember is August 6th, when Markkanen can sign a contract extension. If he signs, he will not be tradable until the NBA trade deadline. If he signs later, he will not be tradable for the entire 2024 to 2025 season. According to Blue Man Hoop Group's Sean Kane, this is something of an informal deadline for any trade involving Markkanen, as this is when Utah will decide its path, and the Warriors will know if any of their young talent will be heading to Salt Lake City. There are rumors that the Jazz are pushing for Podziemski to be included in a trade for Markkanen, but it's important to be skeptical of any rumors involving Jazz president Danny Ainge, who is known for being a hard-nosed negotiator. Podziemski is a player who showed a lot of potential, averaging 9 points per game and almost 6 rebounds last season, as well as 45% shooting and almost 39% three-point shooting. Anthony Slater tweeted Sunday about the Warriors' Summer League victory over the Bulls in Las Vegas, highlighting Brandon Podziemski with 21 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists, and Trayce Jackson-Davis with 17 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists. These performances suggest they both have the potential to make an NBA roster, and teams like the Utah Jazz could be very interested in them. Additionally, Podziemski played for the USA Select Team, giving him the opportunity to play alongside Cooper Flagg, the projected first pick in next year's draft who will play for Duke. If the Jazz perform poorly and Podziemski is traded to Utah, they could be teammates next year. Now, about possible contract extensions for the Warriors' young talent. Kendra Andrews tweeted that Mike Dunleavy Jr. would like to extend the contracts of Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. As for Curry's extension, that's a priority, and he can get whatever he wants. Curry has already expressed his desire to remain with the Warriors for the rest of his career, and it's likely that Golden State will do its best to keep him, considering him the greatest Warrior of all time. Kuminga and Moody's contracts for 2024 to 2025 will be real bargains if they live up to expectations. Kuminga, with a salary of $7.63 million, is an excellent bargain if he continues to improve. Moody, if he becomes a good rotation player, could be a huge asset for the Warriors. Michael Scotto in June 2024 said that Kuminga will likely remain a Warrior unless he is needed in a trade package for an All-NBA player, which is not the case with Markkanen. Both players, Kuminga and Moody, showed progress last season, especially Kuminga, who took a significant leap towards the end of the season. Moody is still in the process of developing, but there is potential, especially with his defensive ability and three-point shooting. Kuminga is eligible for a 5-year, $224 million contract, but the Warriors may choose to wait and see how he performs next season before offering a maximum extension. Moses Moody, on the other hand, could fetch between $11 and $13 million per year, but will have to prove himself this season. Now see what the experts say.
Markkanen is the biggest name on the trade market if he's on the market. And I do believe, despite the skepticism around the league, oh, here's Danny. Danny's doing his thing. You give us 19 first-round picks and 45 swaps, and yeah, we'll move. Danny's got a price. He knows what the price is. In the end, it won't be... I was going to say it won't be ridiculous. It probably would be ridiculous. But there's a price where he'll move Lauri Markkanen because the Jazz know we can't just do this thing every year where we pick 10th. Yeah. We know who the next two drafts are. What the guy who's the headliner of the 2026 draft, I believe, just transferred to a high school in Utah, right in their backyard. They know there's a price. There's also a possibility that they bump him up on August 6th and extend him and say, well, we think he has more trade value on this extension, especially if we can wink, wink, get it below the max. I don't know that will be palatable. Maybe it will. Markkanen likes it in Utah. He also wants to win. Like, at some point, he wants to win. And he's watching them in Summer League. He knows the roster. He knows what's coming. So here's the question. If you're the Warriors, what's the price for Markkanen? What is the deal for Markkanen that leaves enough in the cupboard where you can look at your team and think, the price we have paid in future assets, in youth, in picks, is worth it because A, Markkanen is 27, so he's going to be here a long time. And B, we have enough to actually make a deep playoff run right now. And so I would put it like this. Well, I'll just phrase that question to you open-ended. You go ahead.
Educated speculation. I think Podziemski would have to be in the deal. Obviously, you're talking about a ton of picks. I don't know how much the Jazz would press on Kuminga. I do think, like, if Podziemski's not in the deal, there wouldn't be a deal.
So Podziemski and 3 to 4 Warriors first-round picks and swaps, unprotected, betting against the Warriors going forward with Steph aging and Markkanen as the guy, and Draymond aging as well. And as I've said about the Lakers picks, people just say, well, 2 first-round picks, do whatever. Like, if they're unprotected, those picks from an old team, I don't care that they're in a big market that's got free agents interest before, like, those are valuable pieces. I put it like this. The question that's for me is, but all the discussion about the Golden State Warriors in the offseason has been about Klay Thompson leaving and going to your Dallas Mavericks, your home base team. Yeah. And obviously I've done that already. It's an emotional earthquake of a move for a legendary player like this to leave a legendary team like that. Chris Paul leaves, and that's one discussion. And then on the other end of the discussion is, well, should the Warriors trade for Lauri Markkanen as they tried to trade for Paul George in a sort of win-now move? Undiscussed is like the players who are actually on the Warriors team. Right. So let's start there and just do briefly, like, if there is no Markkanen, if there is no whatever move like that, what exactly is this team? Here's the roster. We have Curry, Podziemski, Wiggins, Kuminga, Green, a couple of centers in Trace Jackson Davis and Kevon Looney, a solid bench of, if they are the bench guys, the Anthony Melton, great signing on a 1-year deal. Oh, by the way, the rare 1-year deal that, unlike Dante DiVincenzo, is a big enough salary that they could re-sign him with non-bird rights. Buddy Hield is on board. Moses Moody's still here. Kyle Anderson comes in on a sign and trade. He fits that sort of Steve Kerr read and react, screen, make random little plays. GP2 is still here. If you have to start with, like, what's the starting lineup of this team? Wow. Like, that's a fun place to kind of start. I initially penciled in, because remember, at the end of last season, Kuminga, after starting and thriving, went back to a bench role because they wanted to start Draymond and they wanted to start a traditional center, Trace Jackson-Davis, and they just concluded correctly, I think, we could not play Kuminga, Green, and a non-shooting center at the same time. It's just not enough shooting. So I give you two options for this starting five. My A choice is Curry, Podziemski, Wiggins, Kuminga, Green at center. We just start Draymond at center right off the bat. Yeah. I do think there is internal hope in Golden State for a Wiggins bounce back season if he's still on the team, and they would like to give him a chance at it. Then I thought, well, okay, let's say they want to start a center because Steve wants to start big sometimes, and Jackson Davis was really good last year. Do we just bite the bullet and go Curry, Podziemski, Kuminga, Green, Jackson Davis, and do the thing that they would not do last year? Because I got to tell you, man, I can't go Curry, Wiggins, Kuminga, Green, and Jackson Davis. That's not enough shooting. It's too big and kind of bulky of a lineup. I got to tell you, Tim, no matter what, I just think Kuminga has to start. There are iterations, and I pulled this question to people all over the league and got different reactions to it. Maybe Moody starts. I think Melton is going to get a look as a potential starter. Maybe they bring Kuminga off the bench. No, Kuminga has got to start. And I will say this: did you see the Steve Kerr comments yesterday about the rumors that Kuminga has been bandied about in certain trade discussions?
Yeah, basically said everybody but Steph has been.
I'll tell you this right now: between the starting lineup conversation we're having right now, which is surely going on within the Warriors, between the yo-yo of the Kuminga minutes in the role last year and his production, and between the trade talks that may or may not be happening about Lauri Markkanen, which may or may not include Kuminga, we'll get there, and between Kuminga being eligible for an extension right now, this is going to come to a head soon, and maybe as soon as Las Vegas, when everybody gets there, like the Warriors front office. I don't know who's there yet. Kuminga's agents surely will be there. But let's just focus on the team for now. I think no matter what, Kuminga has got to start, which means for me, I'm starting the Draymond at center lineup and rolling from there. And my bench is some combination of Melton, Moody, Hield, GP2, Kyle Anderson. I got two centers coming off the bench. I got a lot of directions I can go. There's a lot of good players on the team.
They've got 12 proven rotation players. No question about that. And look, obviously the Clay thing was an emotional deal. But they didn't break up the dynasty. The dynasty was done, and they're moving on. The old two timelines thing. The guy who's really hit on that from that has been Kuminga, and I think you've either got to start him or aggressively look to move him, because like you said, it was a thing last year, and his camp made some noise, and then. Steve Kerr came out and said, you know what? Yeah, I shouldn't have had him riding the pine while we were losing a close game to the Nuggets after he was playing extremely well. And he was in the starting lineup after that. There's no question he's a starting caliber player. I mean, he really did take a leap last year. And, I think there are people, on his side of things who say, yeah, the leap was he had a bigger role. Like he's been capable. He had more opportunity. So I just don't think bringing him off of the bench is something that's going to be a manageable situation moving forward.
This is why I mentioned Vegas. If they all meet in Vegas and everybody meets in Vegas and the message is, hey, we're going to go into training camp, it's going to be Steve's decision. Maybe he comes off the bench, maybe he doesn't. I just don't think that can fly anymore. I think that could be a radioactive bomb thrown at the Kuminga camp.
Especially given the he didn't have an extension in place. Given this is a guy who has every right to feel like, hey, I'm a 9-figure type of player on my next deal. It's going to be hard to do that if I'm playing 26 minutes a game off the bench. So yes, I think he either has to start or you've really got to look to get value for him in the trade market. I personally would put him in the starting lineup. Between him and Podziemski, you've got two really good young players in that group.
I think Pods is starting. I just think they fell in love with his game last year and all the things that he does. She shot it well enough. I think You can make an argument for Moody. I think Melton would get some looks, and maybe both of those guys get looks in the Wiggins spot if that goes south. But I think Podziemski goes in ahead of those guys as a potential starter.
It's time for the Warriors to consider a risky move. For years, the Warriors played conservatively, re-signing their veteran stars while using draft picks on young prospects. That was the two-timeline strategy championed by owner Joe Lacob. While it brought them victory in the 2022 NBA Finals, it proved inadequate to sustain their dynasty. The upcoming offseason emerges as a critical moment for the Golden State Warriors, ready to reshape the franchise's trajectory. Will they commit to one last attempt at winning the championship, or will they opt for a financial restructuring? Mike Dunleavy Jr. and the front office face a series of daunting choices, leaving fans eager to discover the team's next moves. Expectations surrounding Golden State's future intensify. Before you finish, make sure to subscribe to the channel. After all, as we said before, we are producing Warriors videos almost every day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow on Gold-Blooded News. In conclusion, the future looks uncertain for the Golden State Warriors. With the possibility of losing and adding players to the team and the various trade options available, the Warriors are well positioned to continue to be a force to be reckoned with in the NBA. Stay tuned for more updates on the Warriors, and remember to support by leaving your feedback in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications to know when I will send new news. Thank you for following Gold-Blooded News. A hug and see you next time.
We're gold-blooded!
Go Dubs!